strategically involved in reaching out to people and spreading the gospel through the written word. Let me just remind you to ask questions and use the chat box on the lower left-hand side of your screen. The speaker is kind enough to provide her email address so you can connect with her even after the webinar. One of the healthy tensions a Christian publisher faces is in pricing his or her books. Should you, as a Christian publisher, should you give away your books for free to reach more people? Should you at least sell at cost or do break-even pricing? Or should you make sure you get some profit after covering all costs? Or is this too simplistic a way of presenting the challenge? Maybe it's a combination of all three. Some of your titles you give away, some of your titles you sell at cost, and the rest you sell at a profit. We will certainly have a very good discussion in the next hour. Our speaker today is Anna Shirochenskaya. Anna had double undergraduate degrees, one in economics and one in translation. She worked as an economist with the Foreign Trade Ministry of Russia, then spent 6 years as translator of books and a simultaneous translator. Since 1999, she's been director of Triad Publishing in Moscow. She is also one of the trustees of MAI Europe. So thank you, Anna, for joining us, and thank God we have you online.
Thank
so
you.
please go ahead and present.
Hello. After 20 minutes of panicking and not able to join in, finally I'm in. Ramon, don't laugh. I was panicking. I'm still panicking because I'm
I
afraid
was
that this
panicking
program will
myself.
just... Good, good. At least two people were panicking. So thank you for having me in. Thank you, dear program, for letting me in. Thank you, Internet, and thank you, MAI, and thank you, all the participants to join in. I hope that you do have questions, and I hope you will be able to find answers, probably not from the things I will say, but from the things that you will start thinking while I will be saying something else. So it's also one of the things how we learn. We just listen to one thing and think about a different thing and then find the answer. Well, today we're going to talk about pricing. And pricing, it's one of the trickiest. Ramon, I think I can't. Oh, no, I can. Yeah. And pricing, I think it's one of the trickiest thing in publishing, because if you are the person who is going to say what the price for the book is, then you actually have to wear like two hats. You have to be a researcher because you have to know everything about your own organization, about your publishing house, about how it functions. And also you have to know a lot about the market, about your reader. But then the second hat comes. And the second hat is creative thinker. After you gather all the information, to start thinking creatively. You have to start thinking out of the box, because you need to understand that pricing is also a risk, and pricing is also an art, and pricing takes you to an adventure. So the first part will be talking about classical things, talking about the research you have to do before you will even attempt pricing. And then the second part, it would be mostly questions, the questions that you will have to ask yourself while putting on the creative hat. So before you attempt to price, you have to understand that you will be making informed decision, which is based on the knowledge of your market, your reader, and market strategies of your brother competitors. You have to watch, you have to look attentively, you have to make notes, you have to notice everything that is going around you. But pricing is also an understanding. Roman, can we have the next slide? I can't move the slides. Thank you. And so first you look out, but we'll be looking out like in the second half of the our talk. But first, and then you have to look in, because to make correct prices, you really need to understand how your organization works. What is your operational mode? What are your indirect costs? What are your direct costs? What is your cash flow situation? So you need to look at yourself really attentively. Why? Because prices, they also can speak. As people speak, as books can speak. Prices also speak to people a lot, because we live in the marketing situation. We go to the shops every day, and even food prices speak to us. All the prices speak to us, and book prices also speak, because the price, it communicates the value of the book to the target audience. It communicates the value of the book to the reader. The price also positions your book into the right category, and right pricing helps promote your book, which is also really, really important. But prices can do some mean things to you. If the pricing is wrong, then the book is less competitive. If the pricing is wrong, then you can have cash flow problems. If the pricing is wrong, it increases your inventory. So more and more books are in the warehouse, and you have to pay for the warehouse, and the books don't move. Then the prices can make your investments inefficient, because although you are in the ministry, you're also in the business. And your business is making the word known to people, taking the word out. But to do this, you just don't only speak. You invest money into your business, and you make books. So all your financial investments, they should be efficient. And wrong pricing can even make a big hole in your budget, which is also exactly what we don't want to have. We don't want to have any holes in our budgets. But still, the prices can do some good things for you. They increase our sales, they improve our cash flow, they help us to have healthy inventory levels, and they give us sufficient return on investment. So we'll be talking a bit later about return on investment, about cash flow, what it is, because we'll go into details just to make a good researches. And then correct pricing makes publishing house more viable. But happy is life unembarrassed by the cares of business. This is truth. And I just put this slide here to remind us that there is nice life somewhere else. But we are we'll be talking about tensions, because we are embarrassed by the cares of business. So let's be brave. Pricing is always a tension because we have at least three parties. We as publishers, we want the price to be as high as possible. Our readers, they want the price to be as low as possible. And then we also have booksellers, the people who sell our books, and they all want big discounts. So we'll be keeping this in mind all the time. We'll be keeping this slide in mind all the time because we have to remember about all those three parties when we are making, when we are working, when we are trying to have correct price. And our goal would be to find the golden middle and try to make everybody happy if it's possible. So the basics of pricing. I will be talking really about really simple things so that we would be on equal footing. So let's imagine that it's a kind of a little meat grinder. So we are little meat grinders when we are trying to have correct prices. And what goes in? First of all, we have to know some figures before we'll attempt to set prices. We'll need to know what percentage of the overheads will go into the price of each book. We need and because of this, we need to know what our overheads are. Then we need to know all our prepress costs. We'll need to know all our production costs. And to have correct discounts, we also need to remember about the payment due terms. And so this little meat grinder will, when we load all the information into it, will help us to determine prices and discount levels. So what are our overheads? Overheads are also called indirect costs. And we have to be really vigilant because before we determine what our price for the book is, we have to know our operational expenses. So how much we spend for rent, how much we spend to pay salaries to people, what are our warehousing expenses, do we have any legal or professional expenses, what are our expenses for freight and transportation, what are our office expenses, how much we spend for phones, emails, and whatever. So you know better how much money you spend, or at least you should know better than me how much money you spend. And once we know the figure, so you'll be asking questions later on, I think, and there might be some questions about this, about the overheads. But once we know all our overheads, we can allocate a certain amount of overheads per copy, or even we can allocate a certain percentage of the overheads for the whole print run. So if you want to, for example, you are a new publishing house, you're just starting, it's your first book, and you put some money in, you have your direct costs and indirect costs, and so you want to know how much money, what are your overheads per copy. In this case, you get all your indirect costs, and the previous slide was just giving us an example what indirect costs can be. And then you also know the number of units you produced. For example, you had a print run of 3,000 copies. And so it's kind of simple division thing, and you can allocate a certain amount of money per copy. a certain amount of overheads per copy, a share of overheads per copy. Also, you can have your overheads allocation percentage. In this case, you also will need to know all your indirect costs, but then another figure comes, your gross sales. Gross sales, it's all the income, like all the gross income for the books that you sold this month or this year. And then you will know your overhead allocation percentage. And this figure, you will also see this figure in a little tool, tool that I hope you all got, because we'll be talking about it in a couple of moments, minutes. Title performance tool. So if we know our overhead allocations, and here is a kind of simple thing. It's a simple thing with figure. For example, well, your indirect costs are $150, and you published 15,000 books. It means you spent 1 cent per copy. Your overhead allocation is 1 cent per copy. Or you spent $150 and your gross sales is $3,000. So 100 just gives us percentage. So it means that 5% of the price will be allocated to overheads. So overheads eat just 5% of your price, which is good. So I think it's rather simple, and you will have all those slides and you will keep all this information. So the next thing we need to know, you remember the slide with this little meat grinder. So the next thing that we have to put into our little meat grinder, it's direct costs. So I think it's rather simple with direct costs, because you all know what they are. Well, hopefully you all know what they are. You watch them. Because when you start working on a book, so you know that you paid so much for rights and permissions, or you paid royalty advance, you paid your author. Then you know that you spend so much money on the cover, so much money on the graphics, so much money on design, so much money on illustrations, so much money on editing, proofreading. So you have to collect all the information about the costs, direct costs that are involved and then when production comes, it's also easy. You know how much money you spend for printing of the title. So we're not talking about printing here. We're talking about production, because in these days you can have kind of offset printing, but there is also digital printing, and I think probably many of you are using print on demand. You are using probably short print runs, which are done in digital print shops also, or maybe you're producing ebooks. But each type of production, it has cost, and you have to be really careful, and you have to know all those costs, put them down, and remember about them when you will be pricing your books. So there are different methods that help you, kind of popular methods that help you decide how much the book will be. There are markups, for example, and those markups can be different in different countries, in different economic situations. It's very popular to take the printing amount and multiply it by 5, by 7, by 8, by 10 in some countries. So you can kind of find some kind of a markup for your situation, and it will take you, after you experienced enough, maybe you can be doing this. But it's kind of a really initial thing, because after you do this, if you will be doing this, you have to check yourself, and I'll give you a tool how to check yourself. Some people use kind of financial methods, so they collect all their costs, they decide what discounts they will be giving to the distributors, and then they decide what percentage of profit they want, and so they kind of make up a price using those indicators. But, and the next slide. Everything is worth what its purchaser will pay for it. So I'm suggesting you, it's one of the options. I don't know which pricing option you will be choosing and what pricing option you are using and you're going to use. But I want to present to you the marketing option. So you try to, when you're determining your price, just try to see how much the market is going to pay for it, and see if with this kind of price you will have enough profit and you will be happy enough. And for this end, we're having really simple, it's simple because it has all the formulas in, and you have just to fill in the blanks. So fill in the values in the boxes. But this is a really interesting tool that you can be using to see not just how title is performing, but I think, and I'm using it in advance, to see if the title that I want to print, I want to publish, will be profitable enough, and how the title is going to perform for me. So the Excel file, I hope you have those Excel files, and if you can open them right now, it's okay. If you can't, I did those little slides. I did those little slides so that it would be easier for us to talk. Yeah, anyway, it's really hard to talk when you don't see people, but anyway. So first of all, what you can do with this little tool. For example, you know how many copies you want to print, and you decide that I'm going to print the best Christian book. So the title of the book is Best Christian Book, and this title, the Best Christian Book, looks a lot like the very best Christian book published by another publisher and which sells for 15 euros. And so you say to yourself, okay, initially let's have this amount. Let's say I'll be selling my best Christian book for 15 euros. Then we'll be talking about discounts in the art section, in the creative section. But still, if you are not publishing your first book, you know what kind of discounts different channels will ask of you. And you can try to see how many copies, just try to imagine how many copies you can sell through each of those channels. For example, if I give a certain, the channel which asks for 40% discount will buy 1,000 copies. The other channel will buy 1,800 copies. The third channel will buy 200 copies. And in this way, so the performance tool will give you the average discount, and also will calculate the average income you will receive. So if your market does return books, because some markets do have returns on books, some markets don't have returns on books. It depends on the country, it depends on the economic situation. You also have to think about returns. There is a square, there is a box, little box, where you can put the number of the returns percentage. But this first half, it will give you the figure of the total net sales. So how, simply speaking, how much money you will get if you sell 3,000 copies at 15 euros, giving an average discount of 33%. And yes. So we have, when we are pricing, we always have to remember that our book is an investment. And actually, this little performance tool, it's an investment tool, because it helps you to plan for a price that will cover your costs, direct costs and indirect costs, include discounts given to distributors. We just were talking about those discounts. There is a place to put discounts in. And then you also have to plan for some profit. So another part, I mean, it's all one file. I just broke it into 3 pictures. No, just I can return to the previous one. Oh no, yeah, it's the second one. Yeah. So we already talked about direct costs. So there is this part of the file. It gives you the boxes where you can put in the figures for your direct costs. There are like examples here: rights and permissions, graphics, covers, scans, separations, whatever. You can just change the titles and put in the costs that you actually have while producing the books. But this part of the file gives you the total cost of sales. And total cost of sales in this file, it's like all your direct costs. So it's also kind of a really easy thing, and it gives you production. So in this case, it's printing, paper, binding, but it might be ebook production, it might be short POD run or something else. So in this case, we see that we're going to sell our book for 15 euros, and I think the cost of the book was like, cost of the book to us was it like 2 euros printing costs, and
2.8.
yeah, it was so the total cost of sales per copy, it was 2.82. So actually it looks good, at least till now it looks good. So we're just playing with this thing. But the the last part of the file, it will give us the performance of the, show us how the title performs, and if the title will be profitable, or if we are going to start losing money with this title. So what we're having here, here we're having some financial indicators which are really, really important to us. So we're having gross profit. Gross profit, Roman, we don't have those 3 slides probably, but it's okay, yeah. And I also had some slides with the formulas, but I mean, it's easy. So gross profit, it's all your net sales minus your direct costs. Then we were talking about overhead allocation. So this is indirect costs. Overhead allocation, which we're talking about, it also has another name, indirect costs. Over here, we can see overhead allocation percentage. And once you decide what is overhead allocation percentage for your publishing house, you can easily just fill in the blank and put your own percentage, put your own figure. Sometimes we decide that this title that we're going to publish is very special and we want to allocate a separate amount of money for marketing and sales. So in this case, we can fill the box. We see over here, you see another box, sales and marketing. Or if distribution and fulfillment for this title needs some extra funds, so we fill this box. But actually, you will know better your indirect costs, and all the indirect costs will go into this part of the file. And here we see our net profit. So our net profit, we had our gross profit up there, it was 17 something, and here we have our gross profit, our net profit. So we deduce all our indirect costs from the gross profit, and we are going down to the net profit. So the profit is becoming smaller and smaller. Do you remember the first figure? It was net sales, it was the largest one. Then we went down to gross profit. So we see that we're getting much less money than we thought initially. And now we're down to our net profits. And over here you can see total net profit and or loss. Sometimes, unfortunately, it can be minus 8,000 euros or minus 400 euros in this box. And then 3 really important indicators. Net profit as percentage of sales, which means that you will over there you will see the so we know our net profit, it was 8 something, and then we know the amount of total net sales, which was the big figure, 60. It was the first biggest figure. And so when we divide net profit by the total net sales, and just as a percentage, now we can see that our net profit is 32% of our net profit is 32% of our net sales. So the title is performing well. We can probably publish it. But there is also another indicator which is really important for us. It is return on investment. Because we're talking about the fact that all the money that we put into the book, it's our investment. And we need to have some return on investment. And our net return on investment is calculated, you will see the formulas. So all the formulas will be visible in the file. But when we take our net profit and then we take and we divide it by our total indirect costs plus total direct costs, then we see what return on investment we're going to have. So it's a really good figure. It means that if we put in $100, we will get 48.3 dollars in return. So it's good. And I hope that you know this indicator as break even. When we break even on sales, it just means that in order to recover our costs, all the costs, we need to sell 1,444 copies of the print run. And it means we remember that we printed 3,000. And it means that all the other copies, like the copy number 1,445th copy, it will start bringing us profit. In this way, you can play with this little title performance tool as much as you want, but I suggest you start playing with it even before you start working on the book, because sometimes just filling in the boxes and thinking and thinking and thinking, and then you will see that probably this title wouldn't be performing well for you. And if the title wouldn't be performing well for you, then you will have to ask yourself plenty of questions and decide if you really need this title, and if you really need it, how you're going to finance it. So the questions about financing your titles should be asked before starting, even before attempting to work on the book. So just this simple summary of your goals. Your goal when determining the right price is to remember that your book is an investment, and you should be planning, at least, for a price that will cover your costs, direct costs and indirect costs, that will include discounts given to distributors, and that would include some profit, because you need some profit, and later on we'll be talking about the profit and discounts in the creative section. So this is the part which first part about research and dull things and hard things and counting. But we have to remember that no man ever grew rich all at once. So no hurry in getting rich, no hurry in getting profit. And if you have any questions about the first part, kind of this dull financial part, which is really necessary, I'm ready to answer them.
Thank you, Anna. We are open for questions at this time before Anna starts her part 2. Barb said, we are producing a print-on-demand book. How do we calculate the quantity of books?
Okay, print on demand is really tricky, because with the print on demand, if you go back to this little performance tool, when you are producing a title, so the second slide, which gave us the cost of sales, the second slide, which gave us the cost of sales, will remain the same. With print on demand, you can do 3,000, you can do 2 books, you can do 50 books. but still all the prepress and all the prepress costs, they remain. In this case, I think if you produced a book, so you have the book ready for printing, and you decided that you are not going to do a big print run, you have to be really careful. You have to really carefully assess your market, and you have it's a risk, but it's a calculated risk, and probably you can decide how many copies the market will buy during the first year of sales, or like 2 years, during a year and a half. It also it also depends on the market. So what will be demand for this book? Will be able to sell 1,000, or you will be able to sell 2,000. And this is one of the ways to decide on the price, but it's a kind of a risky way.
By Anna,
Yeah.
by nature, a print on demand is usually a lower quantity because you should be able to provide the physical book after receiving the order from your customers.
Yeah,
Meaning you,
exactly.
that's right. So you keep a small quantity in your warehouse.
Yeah,
and
but then
you
it's
can even
still
go ahead.
But still, you need to, yeah. But still, you need to have some predictions, because
Yes.
when you sell the print-on-demand title, you get back you get the back the money immediately.
Yes.
But so you spend, for example, $2 for printing, and you get those $2 back immediately. But still, you had pre-press costs, and they were the
That's
same
right.
as if the book was printed like in 3,000 print runs.
Press, yes.
And you also have to
Yes.
plan for recovering those pre-press costs. So this is the trick with
Yes.
print on demand. And
other
your
publishers,
price,
Anna, other publishers are even pricing their print on demand titles. They put them in their catalog and they say print on demand titles. They even add a little more in the price, meaning the
yeah,
customers,
exactly.
the readers, are willing to pay when they order.
Yeah, but still with price on demand titles, you have to plan ahead how you're going to recover your pre-press costs.
Yes. Just remember you have pre-press, you have direct and indirect costs as well.
Yeah, exactly. With print on demand, we always have to think about our pre-press costs, and this is why we also need to do some forecasting, just to know what kind of percentage of pre-press to put into each title.
Thank
So,
you.
for example, I have a book
David
that
has
will
a question
publish.
here. Yes. Yeah, can we move on? David, does pricing dictated by competition in the market? So how do you respond to competition?
So sometimes pricing is dictated by competition, but we all have to remember all the time that when we are producing, for example, energy bars, so most of the energy bars are alike, but we're producing books, and all the books are different. So it's really tricky when we're talking about competition. So I think quality is the thing to fight competitors, not even pricing. Quality of the text, quality of the book, quality of the production, quality of the illustrations, quality of the cover. Because we'll be talking about it later, our readers, they have a certain perceived price in mind. And if they know that the best Christian publishing house produces the best Christian books, they will be buying your books, though your competitors will be selling their books at lower costs. So I don't really think that cost competition is really essential when we're talking about books. It's more about food. It might be about cars or a certain level, but books are really unique. So I don't think price is really essential when we're talking about competition. Only if a book is like mediocre. But when we're talking about good books, quality books, then you can just have your price.
It's a very good point.
This was my experience. This was my experience. This is my experience with pricing and with selling books.
Thank you. Okay, we'll have more questions towards the end, so maybe we can continue.
Okay. So after we did huge amount of work and we collected all the financial indicators, we collected all the data, and we know how much money we're going to spend to produce the title, what our indirect costs are, how we're going to allocate those costs. And we have a certain price in mind. And we see that this price is really nice because it helps us to cover our costs, and it does include the discounts which we give to distributors. And it also brings us some profit. Then we start thinking about how we're going to sell the title wisely using all the instruments which we have. We should remember that discounts, it's a kind of a tricky thing, because discount is the money that you plan for. You have to think about discounts all the time. You have to plan certain discounts, put them into the price. But this is the money that you plan for, but never lay your hands on. So you don't get this. This is the money that other people get. And this is the money that different distribution channels get. So this thing is also, it depends on the country, on where you are. It depends on your market. It depends on the economic situation in your market. But usually different distribution channels have different discount levels. For example, like big book chains can have, in the US at least, can have and used to have discounts like 50-60%. For example, general bookstores would have discount 40%. For example, Christian bookstores, well, they used to have discount 35%. Churches would be having lower discounts. But this is the marketing thing. And now it comes to marketing research, and it comes to creativity. You have to know your market. And you know that there are also channels, distribution channels, where you don't need to give any discounts. For example, if you're selling through your internet, I don't know if anybody still does catalog sales, but Those would be internet and catalog sales. It would be like no discount sales. And now you can think back to this performance tool. You can plan and you can think how you can sell more books through those distribution channels that demand smaller discounts. This is your creativity. I don't know how you're going to be doing this because it's your market, it's your situation, it's your economic situation. You have to be inventive, you have to be creative, you have to think out of the box. But it's one of the things to think about. How can we increase our income selling through those distribution channels that ask for lesser discounts? Can we do this or we can't do this? Or we should be going for the bigger distribution channels, which ask for bigger discounts, but then the volumes of sale will be greater there. So it is the thing to think about. There is no answer. I have an answer for my situation, for my market, but each of you has to find the answer for your situation and your market. Which distribution channels to choose, which distribution channels to avoid, it's up to you. But this is the thing to be thinking about. Well, there is another thing to think about, profit issues. Because profit is a thing that you really need. You need it because you need to, because you have operational expenses. You have maybe credit payments. Then you have to reinvest into your production. You have to have a certain reserve against financial challenges. It's very important because the economic situation can be unpredictable. And for this, you really need to have some profit. You need to have good, positive cash flow. And so you need to start planning how you're going to get this profit. Which of your titles bring you more profit? So it's another thing to think about. I don't have the answer for you. I have some kind of answers for myself, and these answers change all the time because the economic situation changes. But you have to think in the way that you have to remember that different types of books, they have different amount of profit kind of implanted in them. Like new releases, they bring you the lowest amount of profit. But if the new releases will be successful and if they will go to your backlist, then they will start generating much profit for you. So backlist generates the huge amount, the largest amount of your profit. But still, your new release has to go into the backlist. We do have many titles that did stand 8-10 print runs and are still in print, and we love those because they give us the money, they give us profit, bring us profit. Then different book categories, they also include different amounts of profit. For example, and this will be also different for you and for your market. For example, if you take fiction books and academic books, so they will be bringing different amount of profit to you because you will be probably spending more money for doing an academic book, for example, if it's a dictionary or if it's an illustrated Bible dictionary. So your pre-press costs will be big enough, so the profit will be smaller. But if we take some kind of a fiction book where the author gets, for example, 5% or 6% royalties and the book sells good, then this book will be generating more profit for you. So I don't know what your book categories are and what kind of profit they give you, but you also have to think about this. Then different channels of distribution. We were just talking that about the different channels of distribution that demands different discounts. And it means that they bring also different profit, because some channels of distribution they generate more sales for you and you get more profit. And then what we were talking about, it's these days it's very important how the book was produced, because if it was offset printing, if it was POD, or if it was like short digital print run, for example, 100 copies or 110 copies. So POD would be having like the lowest profit included into the, will give you the lowest profit. But usually when we print POD, it's good because it gives you a good cash flow. Just a point, just a little point about cash flow. I wanted to have a slide about it, but I don't have it here. So cash flow is a really important thing because it's probably you know this. I'll just repeat it just in case. Cash flow, it's a net amount of cash that moves into your business and then moves out of your business. And our goal is to have a positive cash flow. So to put it simple, we need that more cash would be coming and less than more cash would be coming than going out. In this case, we are safe. So print on demand and short digital print runs, as well as ebooks, they ensure that we have better cash flow. We have to remember this, because with offset printing, we usually don't sell the whole print run at once, and it sits in the warehouse, and so it's not as good for the cash flow as POD. But still, the profit is bigger if you are using offset printing. It's also a thing that you should be thinking about. What kind of operational model you're going to choose? How are you going to work? There are different operational models, and I've been recently changing our operational model, going for more short digital print runs and POD books, getting out of offset printing, but it's because of the economic situation that we're having in Russia, and this is the answer for us. Maybe if your market is doing well, you should stick to offset printing, and if your sales are good, you should stick to offset printing. But this is what you have to decide, but you have to think about it. And another thing that you also have to think about, so I'm just kind of giving the things that you have to think about all the time. You have to watch your market all the time, because the market changes, your customers change, and your books, your book categories can change. Maybe you will want to go into a different book category because something changed in the market. So you have to be really flexible. You have to you have to be willing to change, because recently I heard a really interesting phrase. I was talking to a businessman, and he told me, well, one of the rules is you shouldn't be in love with your business. Well, he's a shrewd businessman, and I think he was right. He was saying that if the business dies, let it die. But we're in a different business, and I think we shouldn't be in love with our business. So we'll need to be always ready to change. But at the same time, we should be in love with the message. And this is why we should be willing to change in order to be better channels for the message that we are bringing to people. So just be willing to change all the time. Watch your market, watch your customers, what's happening, what is perceived value of your book to the customer, because this is the most important thing. How much your customer is ready to pay for your book. And actually, if you find this figure right, he will be dictating you your sales price. So other things to watch all the time. So you have to be like a spy. If you're in the market, just watch for the titles, same size, same quality, in the same category. There was a good question about competition. So yeah, you watch for competitors, but you try to do everything better. You have to know the price of the competition, but it doesn't mean you have to stick to this price, but you have to know it. You have to know your competitors, the quality of their books, their prices, and it will help you to determine the right price for yours. But it doesn't mean that it should be lower than the price of your competitors. Then you have to understand who are your customers. If you're selling the books that are bought by the academic community, you know that perceived value is larger, and those people, this customer group is ready, is prepared to pay more for the book. If you are doing, for example, fiction books, people are prepared to pay less for the fiction books. You have to understand this, you have to watch this, you have to think about this. And then you have to choose your category correctly, the category for each book. Because if it's an academic book, it will be probably more expensive. And if you put it in the right category, it will be selling well and it will be bringing you the right amount of profit. If it's Christian living title, it's a different category and it's also a different price range. So the price of your book has to correspond to the category in which you are trying to place your book. And actually it was called positioning. So when you take your book into the market, you have to position your book. Because positioning, it's a promise that you make to your customer. For example, this is a good, solid academic book. And so you have to position your book correctly so that the price would be seen as fair by the customer. So even positioning has to do something with pricing. And initial perceived value of your book depends on how you position your title. This is what I was saying. And one of the most important things with the price, your customer should never feel deceived. Because if customer is happy with the book, he would never regret that he paid so much for it. And you will be having a happy customer, and probably you know all these figures, how many people the happy customer will tell about your business, and how many people will know about your business from an unhappy customer. So, and well, there are some remedies worse than the disease. So sometimes we make wrong decisions. And we have always think about the questions to ask ourselves in order not to make those wrong decisions. So I don't know your situation, and I don't know what are the tensions in your market, what are the tensions in your publishing house, but sometimes publishers start asking themselves different questions. For example, you published a title and you had a huge profit, bigger than you used to, and the market is accepting a high price. The market is paying the high price. And sometimes you would ask yourself, like in the next slide, sometimes you ask yourself, should I reduce the price for the book to make it more appealing to a wider group of readers? For example, I have an opportunity to make the price lower, but at the same time, will more people buy my book at lower price, or will it be the same number of people who will buy the book? And so you start analyzing, will the lower price attract more readers, or will the income increase even more because of the larger amount of sales? Then you can have some ethical questions. Is it ethical to ask for more when I can ask for less? So when you're thinking about pricing, there will be always questions. Sometimes you start selling the book and then you see that the profit is too low. The book isn't selling as well as you're planning it to, as well as you're planning. So you're hardly breaking even, you're losing money, and you also start thinking maybe you should change the price. This is another thing that like with higher prices and with lower prices, sometimes you give initial price for the book, but then you can change it. And so you have to watch the performance of the title in order to see if the price has to be adjusted or adjusted. In some markets you can do this, but there are some markets that accept changing prices, and if your market accepts changed prices, so you should be thinking about it. So you can think, can I lower my costs? You analyze your costs, and then you can think if you can have a higher price for your book in order to get a bit more profit. So you start asking questions. So then if you feel that you keep analyzing the title performance and you're not happy with the price, but you see that you can't have a higher price, so then probably you could go to you can ask yourself another question: should I be looking for a grant, or probably can I recover some losses from the revenues from the other titles? It's also one of the possibilities. So it's always analysis. It's always analysis, and even when the title is out in the market, you still keep asking questions, and you still keep asking if the price was right, and you still keep thinking if the price should be or could be readjusted. Or again, if you're having cash flow issues, and we just mentioned cash flow, which is a kind of net amount of all the cash coming in and the cash coming out. So you can ask yourself, is it an option to lower profit margin to improve your cash flow? Because sometimes you plan for high profit, and actually the book brings you the high profit, but still the cash doesn't go in. Sometimes, for the sake of cash flow, you have to kind of get rid of part of your profit, which will be, well, which won't be bad in some situations. So if you're working only in the Christian market, you can ask yourself, will my cash flow improve if I go to the general market? It's one of the options. Or you can ask yourself if my cash will improve if I go for POD or shorter print runs. It's another option. So you keep asking and asking questions. And if you decided to go for the general market, then you have another question. Shall I be producing only the titles for the general market, or maybe I can sell some of my Christian titles in the general market as well? Our publishing house doesn't produce titles for the general market only. we sell our titles, Christian titles, in the general market, and actually, general market gives us at the moment sometimes 50, some months 50 or 60% of sales, so even more than the Christian market. But your situation must be different, may be different, and must be different. So you should be thinking, always thinking and thinking for yourself. And then another question: if you want to produce a certain book, if every title should be self-sustaining. Maybe some titles are so important for you that they can be financed from the incomes from the other titles. And then another question: should you be changing the price when it comes to reprint? If the cost of the reprint is the same, should you lower the price? Should you have a higher price? Only your market can give an answer to this question, but you should be thinking about it. So the last 3 slides, it was like red flags to be remembering, and the red flags you should be thinking about. And I think we already tackled about these questions tackled on this question about the joys of digital printing and ebook pricing. Well, it's true that practice is the best of all instructors, and just with ebooks and digital printing, we have always to remember about the pre-press costs, that we have them, and that those titles are not as inexpensive as they seem to us, and plan for recovering the pre-press costs. So, and now you have this little performance tool, and you remember that practice is the best way to learn. And if you have questions, you can ask and write, and if I'm able to help, I'll be glad to help.
Thank you, Anna. We will be sending out the PowerPoint slides and the template, the pricing model template.
Yeah.
We will be sending them out to you, and you can ask questions from Anna if you want to, some details of that you want a clearer explanation. But thank you, Anna. Is there any questions from the floor? We apologize again for the overtime because we had some technical difficulties at the beginning. So thank you for bearing with us. Anna, maybe you can just give your parting words, encourage our participants.
Well, I'm a kind of optimist, a big optimist, despite of the panicking I did while the technical in the beginning of the despite the panic I had in the beginning of the session. But I think pricing is an adventure, and in every situation find right solution. I've been publishing for the last 16 years, and the market has been changing a lot, and today's marketing situation in Russia is totally different from the situation we had 10 years ago. And we had different times, but I think you can always find the right solution. There is no situation when that wouldn't give you a certain answer. And so just go ahead and be brave, and you will do it. You will do it. You will succeed. You will succeed in bringing the word to the people who need to listen, to hear the word, and to read the word.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you for those encouraging words. I know you're facing, hard challenges where you are in Moscow. and the Lord has been sustaining you and helping you, and you are coming from a difficult situation yourself, similar to our participants. So you are presenting from the heart. So thank you so much. And thank you to our participants. Thank you, Noor and Joel, Laura, Thomas, David, Barb, Sophia, Sophina. Thank you for participating um, today for a webinar. Let me just invite you to tune in for our next two free webinars. October 13, How to Engage Readers with Powerful Infographics with John Hurst. And November 24, How Can Authors and Publishers Use Podcasts to Reach Readers by Melvin Rivera. Please register through our website, www.litworld.org. Again, I know you are aware of LitWorld 2015, so may I invite you again to join us in Singapore, November 1 to 6. Reaching your reader is the theme of this year's LitWorld. It's one of a kind international Christian publishing conference, and we would like to have you there, and we would like to see you in Singapore. So thank you so much for joining, and we hope to see you again. Thank you, Anna. You have shared with us such very good information and templates and tools that we can use for pricing. And thank you for sharing your experience and your knowledge with us. So thank you, everyone. God bless you all.
Thank you.